Alright, so today we're going to be playing as Romania. I originally intended to try and form Rome, but it just felt like it would probably take too long if I tried to do it, so I just settled for a massive Romania. But that's later in the video. Initially, I'm allied with the Ottomans, and I hope the Ottomans just get rid of Byzantium. This goes pretty well. But there is one thing to note, that I tried to rival Ragusa just to try and get some more political power. But Venice just casually denied me that. So I have some reason to not be happy against Venice and to the Ottomans. Just because the Ottomans kind of want the islands, I assume. But regardless, I do desire some Hungarian land here. And I am pretty successful, although I am quite slow in grabbing it. I mean, I am playing Romania early game. But anyway, I'm working towards getting it, and then I get it. Also, I do know in Austria invading, they annexed the rest of Romania, not Romania, Hungary, which leads to some bad borders, but oh well. Anyway, after Austria finishes sieging Hungary, which is not right now, the siege actually takes quite a long time because Austria, well, they're Austria. What can I say? That's just kind of how that works. Anyway, I helped the Ottomans go ahead and invade the Mamluks, and it goes pretty well from what I could tell. The Ottomans also get rival word, I think. But the Mamluks are also players, so this isn't just an AI that we're fighting and just stomping all over. We just blitz the area. That's why kind of maybe I've looked quick to you guys. Maybe. But Russia tries to vassal me. I just say no. And I decide to try and court my land, generally. I send a small auxiliary force to try and help the Ottomans get rid of the rebels, and Austria proceeds to get even worse borders. But regardless, I do plan on invading Austria a little bit later, although the Ottomans are the one that starts the war. I think they actually start against Venice, not Austria, and Austria just joins as an ally. But regardless, we're building up now. And before I could declare war myself, the Ottomans invade and I'm just dragged in. This works pretty decently to my favor, but as of now the war is not doing that great. We actually lose this one, and the point I said that was not against me earlier is that Venice, I think they thought that I was just an ally dragged in and didn't actually want the war, which is pretty beneficial for me. But this isn't just a complete clobber slump of the Ottomans in Romania. We actually do beat them in some battles, but generally we just get stomped on. That's pretty much it. The war score has been at 100% for quite a while, even though I do own the war goal of Ragusa. So that's something to note on, I guess. My army just gets obliterated by Austria. And I do notice that Austria has claims on my land, and I think they desired it, but they just didn't get anything. Instead, the Ottoman Balkans just kind of got shattered. So, just to say, this state of affairs doesn't end well for Venice or Austria, because the Ottomans aren't at their full potential at this point, from what I could tell, because they just don't own Iraq. Serbia is much less developed than Iraq, as far as I can tell. And also, I personally want to develop it at some point. And also, I was thinking of vassalizing Bohemia and maybe trying to release some stuff from them. But regardless, I do plan on a rival war with Lithuania, and I'm not exactly sure what Russia's trying to do here, because they just don't pull. Venice, I still am able to rival war them properly. But whatever they're trying to do, I was able to rival war Lithuania properly and get some more political power that way. Anyway, I do have a lot of political power at this point, which I don't really have that many uses for other than trying to get barbecues. And it works pretty well, I do get them. Now I just sort of want the Ottomans to get them. And I'm also trying to coerce Austria into coring Krakow. Again, this may be good for them, but Krakow also costs 50 political power, which can, be a pretty big damper if you're trying to get Marble clusters. Anyway, oh yeah, a quick side note, Tunisia took over southern Greece. That's something to note on. Also, Georgia is pretty big in this game. And also, Prussia and Bavaria had a big spat earlier. This is just background stuff, so you guys are aware. Anyway, I invade Austria. I was prepared to invade Venice as well, but they just kind of left, so this was a lot easier than I expected. Well, Austria just kind of gets rolled over. Also, side note, France is also invading from the west, so there's that, I guess. I think we're gonna retake Sundau, and maybe try and get modern borders, but anyway, I appeased Austria to take over Hungary, which involved the aforementioned claims, and I proceeded to core it. One thing that probably would have been smart is, actually claiming some more of Austria. But while Venice is in their fort building stage, I decided to invite France to try and invade Venice as well. Because if they're trying to go for modern French borders, there's some in Italy that they might want to get. And Venice proceeds to build a fort on Rome, which is precisely what I think you shouldn't be doing in this situation. But regardless, I do it anyway. Also, Austria is building a fort on Vienna, but there's not that much I can do about it at this point. I do decide to take Piedmont because it's Piedmont, which is pretty cool before 1600. Anyway, I desire some land from Austria, including Vienna. My goal here is to try and reduce Austria all the way down to Switzerland, which I do eventually succeed in because, well, that's just kind of how it works. Also, Austria's AI, so just so you guys are aware, there's no Austrian player that just joined in or anything. But with that in mind, Venice and Austria, if someone still joined them, I'd probably still be in a tough position. But that's probably gonna change quite soon. Anyway, my two allies of Russia and the Ottomans are fighting, and I just decided to stay neutral because I didn't want to fight enemy allies. The Ottomans invite me to war again after I allied them, which is exactly what you shouldn't do when someone says they're neutral. You're probably just gonna even dislike you in the game. I mean, me personally, I didn't really care that much, but that's just general advice. Because that gives you some debuffs. Anyway, Russia's getting sort of defeated. I mean, it's Russia, it's pretty big, so it may be a little bit harder to defeat them than usual. But regardless, I took Vienna, and around here I'm trying to invade some more of Austria. Specifically, trying to get the areas that don't involve the plans I'm trying to annex, so I don't just burn my own annex dev, which is a strat you guys should probably employ. Anyway, I wasn't able to annex all of Austria's land that I wanted at this point, and Austria just ends up with a horrible name tag and make a straight line through Europe. But at this point the server is starting to die out. You only have Britain, Denmark, me, and Spain left. The Ottomans and Russia both left at this point. But anyway, I still have some more plans in Austria, and I decided to try and go in before they might get a star fort built, and I do it just in time. So now that I have control of Krakow, I don't really have to worry that much about the rest of Austria. And I go ahead and sack some more provinces that I really wouldn't have to worry about that much. Because I don't think at any point in this run I end up owning Switzerland, even though I do end up owning a lot of land this run. But that's enough of Austria. At this point in the game, I sort of want to go for the Ottomans. And about the Ottomans is they are completely dominating the Southern Balkans at this point. And they do defeat my army initially. But the thing is, they're an AI, so I can just like carpet siege and that's it. I do have some rebels, but 3 provinces in Poland compared to the entirety of Bulgaria, some of Greece, like Thrace, and also some of Egypt. That's a trade I'm willing to do, I think. Anyway, the Balkans are almost completely carpet sieged, and I moved right into Anatolia after that. I still have an army in the Balkans to try and like distract the Ottomans as much as possible while I try and snag my way into Syria and Egypt. And also Iraq too, with Mosul. And it goes pretty successfully. The Balkan lands are sort of eroded away. The war goes in Thrace, by the way. But I am still sort of successfully holding the Ottomans off. And I get the lands I wanted, mostly. But at this point I don't have that much cord, which is sort of a problem, but I'm also not really, just considering like I have an army that could deal with rebels, probably. But anyway, I do still have some plans on Austria and Poland. That one area in Poland that just revolted, I kind of want that back. And I also vassalized Poland for the heck of it. Britain, they try and get Constantinople and Jerusalem, and they do succeed. But I do end up getting that land later because they decide to sell it to me. But anyway, after that, I decide to invade Austria again. Also, side note, Bosnia is an Austrian vassal here, I think, so there's that, just so you guys are aware. I invaded Austria again, which is now quite weak and irrelevant compared to how they were before. Basically just Switzerland with extra steps. And I decided to invade Italy again after that. Venice didn't form Italy, which is sort of a shame. But regardless, Italy has a lot of devs, so I was able to just win quite easily. That wasn't the only reason, but that's a reason. And also Bosnia revolts, which is pretty accurate for the Balkans. That's sort of what happens in the game. Anyway, I do have some plans on grabbing Syria at this point to try and like solidify my control over the Balkans, even though I'm pretty strong at this point. I own basically Austria-Hungary, with Romania, Bulgaria, and Northern Italy, so I'd say I'm doing pretty good here. Anyway, I quickly just blitzed through the Balkans that the Ottomans still had, and I just have so many carpet siege divisions that Turkey falls in like a year. I snag my army right through Georgia and just carpet siege them right down. And within a year and a half, roughly, I go from Turkey to Egypt, which is pretty good progress for, Romania. The Ottomans' Balkan territories are completely diminished at this point. And I'm doing pretty good. I take over Constantinople or Istanbul, and also Jerusalem. I do plan on getting Egypt before the run ends, and I do that, but that's a little bit later. For now, I'm deciding to invade Italy and also France for political power. The French War is rival. I don't actually invade France to conquer any land at any point in the run. It's just rival wars. That's it. But it goes pretty well. I just go back and forth, be in the French army, and I win pretty easily. And I also just go ahead and vassalize Austria for good measure. Anyway, I decided to go into the Ottomans again. I form an army and just send them into Anatolia, basically. And I try and claim some more stuff, too. Anyway, the carpet siege strategy is back in Anatolia. And again, it falls within a year. And I just do the same strategy of going to Iraq, and also I send some troops into Egypt as well. Even though I am technologically behind in terms of, like, troops, which is quite a stark difference from earlier in the run, I am still doing quite well. And I'm able to just outnumber the Ottomans and just crush them that way. Which is pretty good at this point in the run, that's pretty good. But regardless, I do core a lot of Egypt, and Egypt does give like a lot of power to you if you own it in the game. So, me owning most of Egypt at this point is pretty good for me, but I do plan on laying like the rest of it, like desert, that area. But for now, I do kind of want to set my sights a little bit to the west. But I do still kind of want to claim some stuff for the Ottomans and go ahead and invade them again, though. But later I do plan on going to like Tunisia and that area over in Italy. I didn't forget about the part over there. Anyway, I reformed the army, and I go ahead and invade France again. Again, it's a rival war. France is just getting dogged on, which I guess that's fine. Meanwhile, I'm sieging Paris, and just send 2 armies to just try and carpet siege the rest of France, and it goes quite well. At this point, France is roughly half sieged, and I'm able to appease them and get the stuff I kind of wanted. I did decide to try and get weird claim borders against Venice, to like try and consolidate Italy quite quickly. At this point in the run, I'm gonna start expanding really quickly. Even though the run's ending like 2 minutes, it's gonna be quite fast for you guys, I think. Anyway, I decided to try and invade some of Africa, and it goes quite well, I'd say. It goes quite well. I'll also just deal with some Egyptian rebels real quick. But before the run ends, I have some like quite fast expansions here. I invade Sicily and Sardinia, and just invade into Tunisia proper, and just take all the lands I wanted there. And now I go right back to Venice, which I just decide to try and just fully annex, like that. I was planning for a work in Spain, but it just never came to fruition. But regardless, Italy is basically mine at this point, after not that much conquest, like a minute. So that's pretty good timing for Italy, I'd say. I did want some invasion of Spain to happen, but it just didn't happen. So we're ending the run off with an Ottoman war. Because I was probably powerful enough here to try and form Rome if I wanted to, but I just didn't. Oh yeah, quick side note, I have a Discord, so you guys can join if you want to, maybe. Anyway, that's basically the end of the run. I think I did a pretty good job with Romania, so hope you guys liked the video. See ya.